Welcome to Your Dose of Wowness. The Amazon rainforest isn't just a location on a map. It's an absolute presence. It's heavy, it's atmospheric, and it is fiercely protective of its secrets. For centuries, this place has just swallowed people, expeditions, and entire histories, keeping what it takes. Today's explainer pits one man's absolute, unshakable conviction against a jungle that simply refuses to yield. Picture this, April 1925. A British explorer named Percy Fawcett walks straight into the Amazon. He's 57 years old. He's already survived 7 previous expeditions to South America. He's a fellow of the Royal Geographical Society, a highly trained military surveyor, and easily one of the most experienced jungle explorers alive at the time. And he takes his 22-year-old son, Jack, and Jack's friend along with him. What are they looking for? A lost city. A pre-Columbian civilization of extraordinary sophistication that Fawcett just called Z. They were never seen again. Over the decades, more than 100 people have died trying to find them. But here is the craziest part. In 2017, 92 years after Fawcett vanished, archaeologists scanning the Amazon floor with lasers fired from aircraft actually found what he was looking for. It wasn't exactly where he thought it was, but it was there. Percy Fawcett was right. He just never made it out to see his own vindication.
All right, setting the stage with Section 1, the explorer and the myth.
Percy Fawcett is often written off today as some romantic dreamer who got driven completely mad by jungle fever. That is entirely incorrect. His entire career was a masterclass in sheer competence. We are talking about a Royal Artillery officer who served in the Boer War, a rigorously trained surveyor. In 1901, he becomes a Fellow of the Royal Geographical Society. Then, between 1906 and 1924, he survives 7 brutal expeditions to South America, practically mapping uncharted territory along the Bolivia-Brazil border by himself. The Royal Geographical Society even gave him their gold medal in 1916. So he wasn't some weekend amateur. His belief in an Amazonian civilization was built on decades of hard, rigorous observation. Let's look at the proof. Section 2, Manuscript 512 Evidence. Fawcett didn't just invent the idea of Z out of thin air. His obsession was anchored in a very specific physical text known as Manuscript 512. This is a real document. You can go see it today in the National Library of Brazil. Written way back in 1753 by an unnamed Portuguese explorer, it claims to describe a ruined city found deep in the Mato Grosso region. It specifically details multi-story stone buildings, arch gateways, weird inscriptions, and a river running right through the ruins. A completely uninhabited ghost city. Fawcett reads this in 1920, and he correlates these geographical descriptions with indigenous oral histories to build a solid, testable hypothesis. Which brings us to the point of no return. Section 3, the final 1925 expedition. That hypothesis leads them to depart from Cuiabá, and the party is incredibly small. Just 57-year-old Percy, his 22-year-old son Jack, and Jack's 22-year-old buddy Raleigh Rimmel. They walk straight into unmapped territory with absolutely zero way to call for help. The emotional weight of this is heavy. It's captured perfectly in Jack Fawcett's final letter home, written on May 29, 1925, from a spot they ominously named Dead Horse Camp. He writes, "I'm not afraid." He describes the jungle as beautiful. He's totally confident. That letter reaches England 6 weeks later, and it is the very last communication any of them ever send. Percy had actually left specific instructions for his wife, Nina, telling her not to send a rescue expedition because the jungle was just too dangerous. 3 men walked into that forest. None came back. Section 4, a century of fatal searches. Nina Fawcett totally disregarded her husband's final instruction. She refused to accept their deaths, and she sustained this fierce, heartbreaking hope for the next 29 years, convinced Percy was either captured or just living out there by choice. But her loyalty sparked a fatal urgency that gripped the rest of the world. Over 100, that is how many people died searching for Percy Fawcett and his son in the decades that followed. Looking for Fawcett literally became one of the deadliest pursuits in the history of modern exploration. The search for one man ended up costing far more lives than the original expedition itself. Just look at this track record. In 1928, Commander George Dyatt leads the official Royal Geographical Society response. He hears rumors of dead outsiders, loses 2 of his own men, and has to turn back without a shred of physical evidence. In 1930, a British adventurer named Albert de Winton goes looking. He vanishes completely. In 1947, Brazilian indigenous Orlando Villas-Boas recovers bones he swears are Fawcett's, but British anthropologists check them out and realize the skeleton is way too small. The remains were fake. The jungle was just rapidly decomposing everything, mercilessly swallowing anyone who dared to try and solve the mystery. Let's fast forward to the breakthrough, Section 5, the LiDAR scientific revelation.
For nearly a century, the scientific community openly mocked Percy Fawcett. The conventional 20th century view was this counterfeit paradise theory. Basically, scientists claimed the Amazon's soil was way too hostile and acidic to ever support a large, complex society. They said it was biologically impossible. But then an entirely new technology enters the chat: LiDAR. By firing millions of laser pulses from aircraft to map the actual ground elevation beneath the dense tree canopy, archaeologists uncovered the 2017 reality. These lasers revealed hundreds of complex earthworks, raised roads, and massive enclosures. The Amazon wasn't empty at all. It was teeming with millions of people and architecturally sophisticated urban centers. The entire scientific establishment was wrong. And Percy Fawcett, he was right all along.
Which leads us to our final point, Section 6, the vindication paradox. Fawcett was entirely correct about the existence of massive civilizations. But here's the paradox. The lasers found geometric earthworks, raised causeways and canals. They did not find the multi-story stone buildings or arch gateways described in Manuscript 512. The specific stone city of Z remains completely unfound amidst all these newly discovered earthworks. He had the right general insight, but he was looking for the wrong architecture in the wrong place. So here's your question for day 48. Is Z still out there just waiting for the next LiDAR scan to reveal it beneath the forest canopy? Or was Z always a projection, a correct idea mapped onto a specific mythical location that never actually existed the way he imagined it? Drop your answer and tell me, what do you really think happened to Jack?
That is day 48 on Your Dose of Wowness, Percy Fawcett. Right about the Amazon, right about the civilization, right about everything except where to find it. His son Jack walked in beside him at 22 saying he wasn't afraid. Nina waited for 29 years, and the jungle just kept all three of them. Until 2017, when lasers finally found what Percy spent his entire life searching for. Thank you for 48 days. Subscribe to Your Dose of Wellness. Tomorrow is day 49, which means it's time for the Week 8 recap. 7 treasures, 7 mysteries, 1 week. Which one do you think is closest to being found? See you then.